Hi, my friends. Welcome to the Grow There with Cheria podcast. Last December 2023, I did something a little witchy, and I hope that word doesn't scare you all off, but I I was watching this gal on TikTok, and every year around the 12 days of winter solstice or the 12 days of Christmas, if you celebrate Christmas, she has this tradition where she takes a piece of paper, she writes down 13 wishes. She rips them up so they're individual, 13 individual wishes. She folds them up, she puts them in a bowl, and every day for the 12 days of winter solstice, she, without looking at it, burns it and gives it over to the universe to take care of that wish or make that wish happen. But then on the last day, remember there's 12 days of winter solstice, but you made 13 wishes. On the last day, you burn your 12th wish, but then the 13th you open, and that's the one that you are responsible for making happen. This has been very fun for me. You also pull a tarot card every day if you're into that kind of thing. But if this freaks you out, don't worry, but if it doesn't, it's pretty fun, and if you wanna join me, I had so much fun with it this year, if you wanna join me this next year. But my wish, my 13th wish that I'm responsible for in 2024 was quite long. It said, "To fall in love and live in love with the people who are meant to be in my life while maintaining my own center of gravity." And that has been something I have been living into this year. And one of the really fun parts about that is looking at the people who I have been privileged to fall in love with this year. And our guest today is one of those people where I just feel like I think we met in 2023, but the conversations that we've had throughout this year have just made me feel like, God, I love this person so much. So you are about to meet my good friend, Monique Cadle, who is the founding partner at GoodWorks Consulting. She's also an executive coach. I mean, there's really nothing she can't do. Mo, as I call her, as everyone calls her, it seems, occupies space as a first generation queer Black woman who's made it her life's work to advocate, establish, and grow inclusive environments. So, whether she's developing or facilitating inclusive leadership programs for Fortune 500 companies or standing up HR programs with diversity, equity, and inclusion at the center, the work is about awareness building and transformation for the betterment of all. And I can think of no other person to bring on this podcast who really we do work so similar and alongside one another. And that's why she's become so special to me as a thought partner, as a friend, as a confidant. So I can't wait for you to meet my friend Mo. And so without further ado, it's time to grow there with Monique Cadle. Hello, Mo.
Hey, sure. Yeah, how are you?
I'm doing so well. I'm so happy to see you sitting over there. This is just the highlight of my week to be able to talk to you today.
Oh, likewise. Long time coming. I'm so ready.
Oh gosh. You know, it's so funny because I feel like we were connected through a mutual friend ish. And I say ish because I'm not really sure how close you were to her. I think she worked in the org you were working with, or
Totally. Exactly. To the connection, I know we're not friends. You're a lovely human being, but yes,
yes, right? Like somewhat
personal connection.
random.
Yeah, random
But
is what ultimately
right?
counts. down to. Yeah.
So random, but I feel like the moment we met, I was like, "Oh, man,
Kismet.
this is has to continue. This has
Yeah,
to continue."
completely. Completely.
Oh my gosh. Well, listen, you know why we're here, but I'm gonna remind people who are listening in that, this podcast is about really growing up at the intersection of work and life, and I have this belief that so much of our growth takes place not only in our personal lives or only in our professional lives, but also when there is that intersection. And honestly, I think some of the most rapid growth happens when those two things intersect, and often quite profound growth when those two
Yes.
things intersect. And so I'm asking all of you who are on this podcast to tell me a story about a time in your life when either something professionally really impacted you personally or vice
Yeah.
versa. And, just to lay it on me, that whole story, and let's talk about how you grew from it. So I'd
Yes.
love to just open it up for you to tell me, and let's talk about it.
Oh my gosh. Well, the story is a story of now. Let's start
Mm,
there. I wanted to be really, really intentional about answering this question, and answer it honestly. And I feel like the moment that has been most transformative has frankly been this entrepreneurship journey.
yeah.
This risk, this dare we gave ourselves of
Mhm.
just jumping
Yes.
off a cliff and just hoping that you float.
Yes.
And this has been a confrontation with self in a way that I really am happy I didn't know what I was
Yes.
about to be up into, because
Mm,
I think the for the long career I've had, I've anchored my career to destinations. I've been really trying to
mm,
process life. I've treated my career as a series of destinations I needed to get to. And growing up with a immigrant family from Belize who like really struggled and came here for financial reasons,
mm,
almost only imparted on me that career is money. Like,
mm.
that's security. That is your means to freedom, and freedom means security, and security means finance. Now, they wouldn't use that language, but that was my
Sure.
processing of it. So, I'm gonna make all the smart choices, take the stable Deloitte career, do
Mm,
the in-house executive job, and all of it was beautiful and meaningful, and I grew a lot, but the underpinning of motivation was coming from this financial security place. There was
mm.
purpose in my work because I can't exist in the world without doing work I find valuable to the world. So it's not to say I devalued other portions of what life means to me, but it wasn't present in the way that it is now. So I looked at the destination being get the high power job, have the financial influence you need to get the lifestyle you want, um, get in the room, do smart things, make
Mm.
change happen. And frankly, being a Black queer woman in an executive space, there's meaning to that. There's space you
Yeah,
take up that modeling alone is meaningful. And I'm kind of wanting to be generous to that experience because I don't want it to sound like I didn't appreciate those destinations, the Deloittes,
sure.
the executive thing. But when you start to integrate what life really means to you
Mm,
with your career, that's where I started to find attention. So here I am having built a business, and I'm looking at the business and I'm asking myself deep questions because you get to create your reality.
yes.
I don't get to create Deloitte's reality. Deloitte creates my reality and I play in that playground. When I was
Mhm,
an executive, this is my CEO's playground. I'm helping his dreams come to fruition. I'm helping
mhm,
us help patients, all good things, but it's not my making. Here
mhm.
I am, something of my making. And whenever I feel a tension in the career part of what I've made, it very directly impacts the individual, the human. So I'm like,
Yes.
choices I'm making don't sometimes are running counter to what this human needs to flourish. And
Mm,
I've found myself in this tension point of saying, up until now, I've done what I'm really, really good at.
mm,
I've trained myself to be good at. But this spirit,
mm,
intuition, my joyful moments need much more pouring into.
mm,
And that means making it an obligation to find how my career is synonymous with like what brings me joy in my personal life. So for
Yes.
now, in my worldview, I am me, my therapist, my wife, my community, like all of
Yes.
the people who love up on me and me are dead set on centering my joy,
Mhm.
things that make my heart sing, and pour that into my work. And so
Yeah.
that's the mode I'm in right now is saying, God, like, damn, honor your dreams. If there's one thing to do, don't be scared to dream.
Mm.
Just
Mhm.
dream, not like
Mm.
it's you jumped off a cliff, jump.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, do it.
right. So,
Yeah.
like, right now, I'm looking at my business, I'm saying there's things we do that I'm so, so proud of, and there's parts of it I can amplify and do much more of, and I'm happy to say what those things are. Um, that might be a little risky, but they're so right, and they're just
Mm.
so my intuition tells me that they're right
Yeah.
because I know the joy it brings me, and I wanna share those gifts. And so it's been today, the moment you find me in today has been like my, "Oh, ooh, we're at a real inflection point as a human being where I cannot
Yeah.
parse out work and personal. They're like
Yeah.
so one thing for me, and not in an unhealthy way, in a like calling to greater, calling to
Yes.
something higher, something more purposeful that's not driven by the fear of financial security or driven by the fear of like what it does to my ego and all the bullshit,
Mhm.
you know? I'm like,
Yes.
let's step into a true freedom. And I thought I
Mm.
was doing entrepreneurship. That was a symbol. That was a ceremonial start. I feel like I'm
Mm.
actually in the work now.
Oh god, this is so good, Mo, and, you're just this is why we're friends
Are you
because
sure?
it's
No, honestly, this is all we want to
yes,
talk about.
I know, I know. It is when you said I think you used the word, confrontation with self, I can't is that what you said in the
Yeah.
beginning? It really is when you're creating your world, you're self-actualizing, and we think of that as this, when you get to the point of self-actualizing, that it's an arrival point, and that once you're
Yes.
there, it's just happened to use your destination analogy. And I think that the work of self-actualization is so intense because to your point, you're beginning to see who you really are. And even if you before, people like us had stated values, but you're starting to realize, okay, now that I'm creating my world, what are the ways that I have neglected certain aspects of myself or my value system in an effort to propagate the very thing that I care about? Somehow I lose sight of it myself.
100%.
Yeah. Yeah.
100%. There's the analogy I've been using is, um, there's like 2 parts of me, and I'm sure there are plenty, but there are like 2 parts I can see very, like, palpably. There's this really overgrown I see this, like, I envision myself as the body I'm in, but just jacked, like,
Mm.
super big, and it's the ego side, it's the, like,
Mm.
I take up space. I look strong, don't I? Like,
Yes.
I'm like, I'm peacocking and
Yes.
performing and doing the things, and it looks good on first glance, but it's hollow. That
Mm.
body, it looks strong, it's hollow. And then there's this side of me that has atrophied, and
Mm.
it's this pure child
Mm.
that is joyful through movement and joyful in the tender moments in life and sensitive, and it's got this feminine, sweet, soft quality to it.
Mm.
That I that wasn't the winning strategy in my home. That
Mm.
wasn't what I thought the winning strategy was
Mm.
career. And so I
Mhm.
let that thing atrophy. That thing is what I need so bad right now. That
Yes.
little tender, expressive, joyful, creative,
Oh, yes.
beautiful, colorful individual. That part that I've neglected, that's the pouring in.
Yes.
This buff dude, the big guy,
Yes.
he probably needs a break. He needs to take a back seat,
Yeah. Yeah.
and,
Well,
this is the work. How do you draw up this atrophied body and pour into that so it had the strength that it should, the attention it should have. And
yes.
it is dramatically changing the choices I'm making in ways that, like, in the short term, I could say, like, damn, this on at a glance looks irresponsible, but like I'm doing the work.
Yes. That's right. That's
I'll
right.
take the pause. I will take
That's
the
right.
pause and make the pivots because this little atrophied child who
Mm,
needs not live in this box needs expression, needs space, and if I don't give it space, I cannot, I won't continue on this path.
yeah.
It's way to go.
Oh, this is you have no idea how much this is resonating because one of my most powerful therapeutic moments was in college, and my therapist gave me an assignment and asked me to name all the parts of myself and to give them a name and age and gender. And yeah, and I went through and I had like 8 to 12, let's just say. And I bring it back to her and I had little sketches and whatnot. And I start going through all of them. And I've got Art, who is this like 45-year-old artist who's like my creative side. I've got Phil, who's the philosopher who's
Yes.
50 and he's, all about, you know, philosophical things. I've got Theo,
Yeah.
who's a theologian, and he's also like 50 years old. And I go through and go through and I'm saying all the parts. And then I get to one part and I call her Ditzy. I say she's 10 years old. She's a wild card. She gets on my nerves.
Mm.
She's super free. She's too free. I kind of got to get her in check.
Yeah.
And so I'm going through all these pieces. And then she points out to me, she says, Sharia, you had one feminine, one woman, one girl in your lineup, and she was young, and the rest were middle-aged men. And I was mind blown, and I realized the most important part of me is this little girl that I named Ditzy that I had been trying to shove to the side. And that powerful therapeutic moment, in that therapy session, I ended up naming the little girl Sharia because I like, that's actually me. All these other
That's
middle-aged
absolutely
men,
me.
this is all the shit that's been imposed on me that I have taken on because to your point, I've decided this is how I succeed is if I embody
Yes.
these other characters.
Yes.
But Ditzy, AKA Sharia, is the wild card that is like, "Nah, girl, we got one life to live. We're about
She
to do it."
needs the
Mhm.
floor.
She needs the floor. She needs the floor, and I gotta tell you, that has been my biggest gut check ever since I was 19 years old in that office, asking myself, what does little Sharia, I say that now in an endearing way, what does she need?
Yeah.
Um, and to this day, just the other day, one of my gut checks is I ask myself, what would my 8-year-old version of myself say about how I'm living right now? And
Mm.
and I think it's been such an important thing. But to your point, letting that part of ourselves atrophy, which I think is so common. I think it's so many of us do that. We lose touch with that part and we realize that is our vitality. And right? And so all our work, everything you're doing to self-actualize, everything that you're doing to support these uh, companies, these organizations that you're working with is like so much more amplified when that
It's
young part
true.
of you is in the zone, is present, is front center
Totally.
stage. Yeah.
But it's so here we are. Let me say something though, completely not related to where I'm trying to go. I hope you give yourself a lot of kudos because there's a moment when you just said something like, I can call myself ditzy in this endearing way. And it's almost like, you let that little girl grow up.
Mhm.
She came of age.
Mm.
And
Mm.
then you can look back at that other version, the smaller
Yeah.
version, the ditzy,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
like hold that so lightly. So just like,
Mhm.
yeah,
Thank you. They
like, this is why we will forever be tethered because,
That's
like,
right.
the pouring into, like, it's a
Mhm.
community helps
Mhm.
you unfold. Yeah, and
Yeah.
so I'm looking at my own revelations, and then I go to the kind of work I do, the work we do, the rooms we're in, and
Mhm.
I'm like, "Yeah, I can strategize with you till the cows come home."
Mm.
But the person who's with me right now, is that who you want at the driver's seat collaborating on these ideas?
Mm. Mm.
You know what I'm saying? So, like,
Yes.
for me, where I say, like, I'm trying to take some risk and it's gonna take it needs a pause because
Mhm.
the what's on my whiteboard that you cannot see is me looking at how we currently frame and approach our work,
Mm.
and how do I introduce sh capacity building at the fundamental human level.
Yes.
Get to the core of who these individuals are, where your
Yes.
atrophied parts are that need pouring into,
Mm.
and then we can come make some decisions on how your organization runs, how you hold
Yes.
thousands of other people. How can
Mhm.
you do that from the space you're living in, where you
Mm.
need pouring into other there's a way that I'm like, I can't continue to do this work without just getting louder about this conversation.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
very, very hard, especially in the world we're in
Mm.
today. Just the
Mhm.
of pure insanity and
Mm.
division and people distancing further and further away from these gentle parts that need the love. Oh,
Yes.
it
Yes.
is you like I almost feel like it's our duty, the people who can see a little more.
Yes.
I'm not even
Yeah.
saying got it. I don't got it. I
Yeah.
just have a little glimpse into being
Mhm.
onto something, and I want more people to be onto the journey.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Well, and it's so we're gonna have to offline and talk more about this philosophically. I just know because I do, part of Grow There's whole thesis is that your the growth of your people has to be in lockstep with the growth of your business. If you're not caring about both of those things, then it doesn't work. It's all fleeting,
Word.
And to your point, it's like what is at the heart of the individuals, of the executives, of the people who are doing whatever it is that your mission is here for,
Yes.
is what is coming out. And you can bring people like us in to Band-Aid on Band-Aid on Band-Aid. But if there's not a change of heart, and even more than a change of heart, a connection with heart, then the
Yes.
it just it will work for a little while, but it won't it's not sustainable.
It's not
And and I think in the work that we do, and the reason why I'm so grateful, and I remember, well, now I'm gonna back up. When I saw the name of your company, GoodWorks, I knew even just the name of it was like, I just knew I was gonna love you because I knew the intention in a name like that to do the work that we do is is saying that's what you're trying to propagate is good
Yes.
work, you know? And also, I don't know if you know this, good work is one of our values, one of Grow There's values. So I also knew I
I did
also knew
not know that. Stop it.
yeah, yeah, our values are heart, faith, truth, and good work. So, yeah, I just like,
Yes.
you know,
Right.
so it's such a blessing to share space and to share so many philosophical, like to be aligned in so many ways philosophically, because what we are doing is propagating this good work in others. And
Yes.
that has to start with us,
Yes.
it
Oh
has
my
to start with
gosh.
us. It
Of course.
has to be a constant, so I'm so grateful. This feels in some ways like a people listening are getting a funny window into how we tend to ourselves as we go out and do the types of culture work that we're doing,
Yes.
because we can only propagate good work if we are ourselves wholly committed to keeping this thing healthy and feeling
Yes.
safe and alive and joyful, that's the only way we can do it.
And here's the grand plan. If I can model it's possible, I think it
Mm,
also lets other people know, like, it it might not feel safe to make these changes, but the
mm,
des like, this destination isn't the right thing. This mode of being is worth it.
yeah,
There's almost like this responsibility to just signal, "You will be okay attending to
yeah,
these things." It's like
yeah,
the world has convinced us that this, you know, minding your nervous system
mm,
and somatic practice and breathing and it's woo-woo.
mm,
It's like, no, your body, like, needs that to make better decisions
yeah,
scientifically. If you need to point to the science, fine.
yeah.
Scientifically, you make better decisions when you chill the hell out. And
Yes.
at my worst frantic days, I don't go thinking like, "Yeah, you got the best out of me, baby." I've been thinking in this case, "I hit y'all with some fire today." All of us know when we're, like, at our worst, it's usually from
Yes.
really stressful place. I'm usually
Mhm.
embarrassed by some of the decisions I've made. I've had to apologize to 1 or 2 people for being
Mhm.
neglectful, maybe not toxic, but certainly, like, not attentive, not present.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, what are we actually talking about? Having
Yeah.
stress, we don't wanna take the medicine, but it's necessary.
Well, and I think it's so interesting because and I don't talk about this a ton, but the way that we work now, the way the corporate America, the working world industry works today is obviously so different than it was 200 years ago, 400 years ago, 1,000 years ago. We're on this, we're evolving. We've been evolving. And it is through pain and struggle that we help shift our systems to be more supportive of the human.
Yeah.
And I think we're at this time where, more than ever, when innovation conversations, because I sit in a lot of those, are always about AI. And that's kind of the constant. And I always think the irony is that we talk about AI as though it's this innovative thing when really it's been around for quite some time, and it
Mhm.
is changing things, but the way that it is changing is it is freeing us up to be our most human self. It's actually giving to the machines,
Yeah.
you do the things that the humans actually are. If we free up human to do more of what only humans can do,
Oh.
then we can build a better world. And so to me, our work, what you and I do, our companies are so much more important right now because what we're really doing is saying for so
Yeah.
long, we've had to leverage humans to do what actually something else could do. But
Yeah.
now we need to bring in all of that good, soft, ooey gooey human stuff and know how to leverage it, right? And
Yeah.
know how to become our most creative selves, our most inspired selves, our
Yes.
most connected selves. And so I don't know, fingers crossed, but I feel like you and I are gonna keep having lots of business come in because that's what we're looking at, not just how to optimize humans for, you know, propagating and perpetuating capitalist
Yes.
shit, but no, we are all in this, earth space to do something to do what? To do make some kind of beautiful life in progress.
I love that.
And yeah,
I'm oh, okay, then I have questions for you.
okay.
That feels relieving. This is the first time someone has brought up AI in relationship to the work we wanna be up to. I I have the feeling of relief and not stress, because
Mm,
here's my mental model on what's happening, and you need to pull me out of the gutter. In the age of increased presence of technology,
mhm,
the behavior it elicits out of humans is almost like things have become transactional and extractive. What tools make me faster? How do I, like, see more information more quickly? How do talk to my friends more efficiently? Like, how are we
Mhm.
making relationship efficient? That's not efficiency doesn't belong in relationship, but
Yes.
technology invites this behavior.
Mm.
Group chatting
Mhm.
and all. I'm old. I want pigeon carriers as far as I'm cook but,
Ah.
take me back. So, I see AI in this behavior of efficiency, and I'm like, "Damn, you're onto something. That
Mm.
should be true." But the muscle that has been built in humans interacting with technology has translated into how they treat humans in general.
Yeah.
Shorter in interaction,
Yeah.
lack of presence. I go to like a if I sit at a bar, I don't even drink anymore. I sit at a bar, I'll have an NA, but I'm there to socialize, so I'm chatting.
We
Got it.
Yes.
Well, then, I'm watching people on the phone. So
Mhm.
I'm like curious how that is the space I want us to be in, the space
Yeah.
that you're describing. How are you thinking about that? Do you think there's a bridge to even be made, or am I maybe too pessimistic about the human condition? Mm.
Listen, I I think well, you know what? I might just be a radical optimist with this. I think
Yeah, do
because
that.
I do think that it might take some time, but I can feel humans also growing weary of
Yeah,
I think so many of us are growing weary of being connected to technology that's simply, to your point, only about building out efficiencies, only keeping us on that hamster wheel longer and allowing us to do more. I feel like people are actually growing weary of that, and we don't all know how to articulate that yet because we can't quite quantify just how much more we are able to even do in a lifetime
yeah,
than we could have 20 years ago because of all of this technology. But I always find that there's a rebellion that will come up, and hopefully that doesn't have to be some kind of, chaotic rebellion, but a slowdown when and this is part the reason why I say what I say is I guess I'm really trying to propagate this. I'm really trying to get people to think about how we allow technology to support us being more human and to
yeah,
start thinking about it that way, you know? There's
yes.
there's and to start renewing your mind with that idea,
Mm,
that I don't want to engage with this technology to speed me up, to make me, you know, fit whatever.
yeah,
There's a time and a place. That like, of course, I want it to help
totally.
speed me up. But what I mean is that philosophically, I don't wanna have relationship with technology that isn't mostly supporting me and being my most human self.
Agreed, agreed. And I think there's something to be said for people are growing weary.
Mhm.
And to your point, it doesn't mean throw the baby out with the bathwater. Like, we're not
No.
getting rid of the reality of how our world works. There are plenty of advancements that I am deeply and eternally grateful for as a result of these.
Mhm.
So, like, you are right. And then paying attention to what this body and spirit is feeling, that's
Yeah.
saying, like, we probably need to modulate this
Yeah.
arrangement we've have with technology, that being an invitation to get into what we wanna be up to. That that I really am gonna take that to heart, Sharia, for real,
Yeah.
because I think you are onto something. Really think you're onto something of, like, that we are in doing this work at a time when it is most needed, most
Mhm.
now, do your clients feel that way?
Well, that's a great question. I think in some ways I need to now that I'm thinking about it, we we have to start talking about it that way to open their eyes up to that, you know?
Completely.
And I think making the business case for it, and I think there is one, I really do. But and what I always feel like my clients don't they know what they think they need. And then when we start talking, they are I think they wake up more to, "Oh, and they need these things, and we need more."
Yeah.
I feel like the
Yes.
more our we have conversation and dialogue around well, let me back up. I think that you and me, our work, I always say we're space makers. I'm a space maker. That's what I think. And coming in and making the space and being a guide in the space, but also recognizing that I do think so many of the answers are already sitting within the organizations that I'm working with. I'm just there to help make the space
Yes. You
and
are a whole
help them.
person. You came that
Yes,
yes.
yes, exactly. And I think that, but, but I do think things like what we're talking about now are these kind of little infusions that we get to put out there, and you're
Yes.
right.
There's a you know, I just want to share like trade notes because in for now, the way that GoodWorks tends to try and introduce these things is we might sign a client on to do an assessment, and then we'll do some like future state visioning, and we'll do like some 18-month roadmap for whatever it may be, org design or the learning plan, or what's the strategy going to be around culture change, whatever the thing may be.
Yeah.
But in those rooms, we're with those clients. Oftentimes, we might do something. I've had a C-suite, for example, where I'll say, "Uh, we're going to have a sitting practice to start the day
Mm,
because you all are in the middle of trying to go public. Have you
mhm.
even like taken a pause?
Yes.
Okay. And like you will see the energy settle into a presence.
Mm,
And I'm like, if we didn't do this, the quality of the conversation, the substance would have been markedly different.
yes.
Or like sometimes I get furrow brows from CEOs, and I'm just like, thank God we are both very good at relationally because I'm just asking for trust. Where I'll say like, you're gonna have to like give these folks a chance to just share their life story
Mm, mhm,
because all of my little quirks come from childhood experiences.
mhm.
People talk about what makes me
Yes.
the person in front of you today. These unrelated in corporate spaces because
Mhm.
they've shoved it out, need
Yep.
reintroduction. And to your
Yes.
point, it's us. That is our work because some folks
Yeah.
are not going to automatically understand why it belongs. We have to make that space
Yeah.
for.
Yeah. That's so right. Mo, I just adore you. I just adore you. I feel like this has been like a therapeutic session for me to just talk through these things with you. I feel like every time we talk, this
Yeah,
is
I was
literal
saying
this is
therapy
what it
session
sounds
is
like.
therapy.
This
Every
this
time.
is this is exactly what it sounds like. You know, I wanna ask just I mentioned my 8-year-old self. What would your 8-year-old self say about the life that you've built and the life that you live today?
You talk a lot more than you used to. Well, I think my 8-year-old self would say, "I'm really proud that you continue to seek out your truth,
Mm,
no matter how ugly or risky it is. You can always stand behind that, and I'm proud of you."
mm,
That I
yeah.
think is what 'cause I get annoyed with myself. Why do you have to be? Why are you like this?
I say that to myself all the time, all the
That's
time.
annoying. It's
Oh,
annoying.
I really do. I say that to myself all why are you like this?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
Well, I'm certain that your 8-year-old self, you would be proud of you. You've lived into and I also love that your 8-year-old self is also calling you to more joy and calling you to, you know, allow your community to help you bring more joy into your life. That's so special. Um I we could talk forever, but I figure we should get through these rapid fire questions because who
Yes,
knows how rapid fire they will be. But
I will try to be brief.
you know, this is you never know what's gonna happen here. Don't limit yourself to one word. Do what you wanna do. But fill in the blank. Growth is
Necessary.
mm, yeah. What was the very first thing you realized you were good at? And I mean, like, when you were young.
Yeah, that's a good I like that question.
Yeah, right?
Dancing.
Yes.
Only child, a lot of mirror work. I was like, "Oh, I
Oh,
got good symmetry. There's a lot of good body control here." Ah.
yes. That is so good. I do
Yeah.
you dance now? Like, is this part of your joy sparking
I
life?
I use my body, so I'll go to, like I'll hit a Zumba, and I will
Okay.
take up way too much room because I've been given feedback in class. I just got it. But I don't do enough of it for how much I love it. I think I'm, like, in my body, but not in, like,
Yeah.
choreo frankly, I've gone to too many intermediate classes and got slammed, and I need to
Mhm.
recover from
Oof.
the
Mo.
experience.
I
Yeah.
was I used to be a dance teacher and then
What?
listen, I've lived a lot of lives. But I used to be a teacher, but I never took class. I went from, like, dancing to teaching class, and I never took class. So, honestly, it's like a throw up and die thing for me to go to class and have someone else teach me because I'm just this is I feel
Uh,
like this is a secret actually that I'm revealing about myself about a very vulnerable thing. Like, if I was in a dance class, I think I'd be really bad. Really.
Korea okay, another offline conversation. I have a thing I wanna be up to, and you saying that is gives me too much fuel. Great.
Well, yeah, can't wait, but let me tell you, the dance parties that happen just right behind me, I'm like a dance party machine. It has to happen. I have to work that.
Zoom me,
Mhm.
and let's do it together. I'm
Oh my
down.
god, please. Okay. I'm not even kidding. We have to do that. That would be
Dead
so fun.
dead ass.
Um, dead ass. What was your very first job?
Nonprofit organization called Young Black Scholars. I used to, like,
Mm,
stuff their mail for them and then eventually got a scholarship. So I was, planting seeds. I'm like, "If I'm here every day, I
that's
should get
right.
some out of it."
That's right. Good for you.
Yep,
Good for you.
yep.
What's something you're trying to learn right now?
Learn to be comfortable being lost.
Mm, yeah. Wha that's powerful, I love that. That's
Yeah,
something you're
that's
trying to
no fun. Okay.
yeah, well, I know. Yeah, not fun. Not fun, but, you know, actually, I'm gonna share something really fast. See, now I'm messing up the rapid
Yeah,
fire.
download it.
I was this is kind of a probably a too long of a story, but I'm gonna do it anyway. I went to a surf retreat a couple of years ago. I had no business being on a surfboard. I'd never done surfing before, and I was going to, like, a really great school, like, one of the best in the world. And, um, and I was talking to the wise woman who I pay to talk to me every 2 weeks about
Yeah.
my life, and and she said, "You are nervous about going because you don't know yourself in the ocean." And I really internalized that, and this last week, I was in Big Sur by myself, and I was walking on the sand, and I thought about that. I thought, "I know myself here in the sand. I don't know myself out there in the ocean. I know myself here in the sand. I don't know myself up there on the cliffs.
Mhm.
I know myself here in the sand. I don't know myself in the 3rd year of my business." I kept just going through and saying this to myself, and part of what happened is I kept creating this space for me to think about who I am now and recognize the fact that every next moment of my life, I don't know who I am in that next moment. Made me feel so much compassion for the journey to wherever it is that we're going, you know? And so learning to be lost, to be okay with being lost is this there's a self-compassion we have to have for ourselves because we know ourselves here, but we don't know ourselves wherever that next destination is, much less what the next destination is, you know?
So, okay. I really wanna say something to that, and I'm, like,
Please
doing
do.
what's
No, please do. Let's do it.
so, being comfortable being lost, over here listening to this atrophied child who needs the pouring into, and that
Mm,
just means being a little lost. And something that just came to my body is after I could do a run or like if I'm outside, if I get the privilege of a outdoor workout, I always close it out with like this movement thingy that I do. It doesn't have a maybe I should trademark it and try and like do it. But anyway, I just do like
I
a
love it.
movement practice. It's kind of like a little bit yoga, a little bit meditation,
Yeah.
ancestral like
Yes.
ritual. Okay. So I ran the beach, went to one of the empty lifeguard stations and tried to do a little bit of a sitting practice. And for the first time, told my therapist this, for the first time, I held my heart and held my
Mm,
stomach as I was breathing. And like started to not boohoo, but like tear up. And what I realized
mhm.
was like, I don't give myself hugs. I don't
Yeah.
give myself grace in this meandering that I'm so
Mm,
needing and so proud that I'm doing. And I'm
mm.
also super scared. And I need to love up on me. And I think this
Yes.
toughness, this conditioning around like the feels and the arts and all of those
Mhm,
parts
mhm.
don't hug. They're not huggers.
Mm, mm.
And so
Yeah.
I'm now like, man, this journey is a gift, and the sucky parts are what they are, but what it's told me is like, "Oh, you should care for yourself." Like, really basic
Mm,
things.
mhm,
I can love up on
mhm,
everybody hard, biggest fan.
mm,
I am the champ of
mhm.
champ. Not for me, until now. But it took me
Yes.
getting really scared and really, really lost to say, like, that belongs.
Yes.
Anyway,
Yes.
yeah.
That is so good. Yes, yes. You know, I think one of the big takeaways from this conversation is entrepreneurship cannot be done without self-love. I think that
Yo,
is, and if you think you're gonna do that without it, it's not gonna work.
you cannot.
Yeah. Yeah. This is so good. Oh, well, you're the best. Okay, what's
You
something
are
you're
at
trying to what's something you're trying to unlearn?
just one. Um, control.
Mm, mm, yeah, feel that. Ooh, I feel that. Tell me a book. I do. Tell me a book or a movie that changed your life.
The book would be Autobiography of Malcolm X.
Mm.
And this gonna sound so strange, but Pan's Labyrinth?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I've never seen a historical fiction and, like, weaving between fantasy and reality, and it almost feels like real life or, like, being in a spirit when you're in, like, a spiritual space, how you could almost feel, like, otherworldly, but you're, like, on Earth. I
Yeah.
just feel like historical fantasy kind of, like, put me in, like, the middle lands of, like, what spirit and, like, Earth feel like, and I
Mm.
never saw it expressed in visual form.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I love that. Okay, yeah. I've never watched all of it. I think I got a little scared.
It's kinda scary.
I think I got I'm
It's kinda
I'm
dark.
sensitive,
Yes.
but I'm sensitive, but I remember it being beautiful, but also I was scared. So I don't
Yeah,
know if I made it through all the way. I'm gonna have to go back.
it's so good.
Um, when growth feels good, how do you celebrate?
Oh, with spaciousness. Like, and that could be, like, physical, just, like, being out in nature,
Yeah.
or you could be close in with, like, the people you love most, and you just feel like
Mhm. Yeah.
that's
Oh,
my celebration. Peace is like, God, getting all of it something. Less, like, undoing,
yes.
space, quiet,
Yes.
peace, all the things
Yes.
we want in my 20s.
Ugh, yes. Oh my gosh, so much spaciousness needed these days. When growth feels hard, how do you take care of yourself?
Community.
Yeah.
I'm learning I need to call on my people.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm, it's so important. It's so important. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like we could have a whole conversation about that too. Um, okay, we're on our last question. We've done well. So, when you grow all the way up and you leave this life,
Mhm.
what will you congratulate yourself on?
I think a marker for me of maybe feeling at ease at leaving this part of my life, um, it would be that I supported others. My baby comes first, my
Mm,
2-year-old, in finding their freedom and their
mm,
permission to liberate in whatever ways that looks like for them. That's the work, like, at the most basic level I want to be up to is people feeling okay finding themselves.
yes.
You know?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yes. I do know. Yeah, I do know. Oh man. Mo, it's such a pleasure to share space with you in this life. It really is.
Likewise, I will we need to be in person so we can do a
I know.
long hug.
We need I mean, the longest hug, like uncomfortably long.
Yes,
And
yes,
then we probably need to go dance, like,
yes,
strap up
yes,
the
yes.
baby, we go we do something, we
Right.
gotta
He's also a good dancer, so I don't know where he got it, but
Oh,
nevertheless, he'd be right there with us.
well, listen, thank you so much for joining me for this conversation and for sharing your wisdom. You're incredible, and I'm so grateful for you. I'm so grateful that you are doing the work that you're doing, and, I can't wait to finally meet you in person.
Likewise, all of that, all of that.
Alright, everyone, thanks for listening, we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.